Welcome to Campus Solutions, how to get more from your investment. We started putting this conversation together specifically because we know folks have been implementing campus solutions like 10, 20 plus years ago. And that whole paradigm sits of there's been so much change between potentially when you implemented to what we have now, that it's really hard for folks to keep up to date on either the tools, the functionality, the frame set, et cetera. So our goal for today is, if you guys can take anything out, it's try to get some of the key specific items that you could go and ask us about later, or go Google, because there's so many ways to do things now in the system, because it's going to be around for quite a bit while longer with Campus Solutions. So we broke up this topic into 3 specific areas. The first one, we're going to be focusing on improving the user experience. And that'll be mainly around fluid and focus groups and all that kind of fun stuff. Then we're going to flow into innovation and optimization. And where we're going to be focusing in that area is around a lot of the new functionality and features and frameworks and tool sets. So that should be a really good conversation. Please feel free, if you guys have questions as we're going. We don't have to hold questions until the end. If you'd like to ask as we go, maybe you hear something that resonates with a requirement that you might currently have and you want to dive into something deeper, please feel free to pop in. We'll respond. And then we're going to wrap up with a final optimization around our infrastructure. So the whole concept of PeopleSoft in the cloud and managed services. So with that, let's get started. My name is Chris Cameron. I'm an associate VP with Sierra-Cedar. My background, I've been implementing campus solutions, 20 plus years, and past couple of years have been getting into cloud, so I keep my foot in both areas. But we started Fluid projects maybe like 8 years ago, back in PeopleTools 8.5.4, Campus Solutions 9.0, before we even had Fluid functionality delivered from Oracle. So we've been doing a lot of this stuff for a long time, and we always try and stay up to date. And I'll pass it off to my colleague, Corey.
Hey everybody, Corey Ludwig with Sierra-Cedar. I've been with Sierra-Cedar for about 7 years now, I think, going on. I work mostly, my background is in portals. So designing, building portals, originally with the Interaction Hub, but now a lot of the portal tools have transitioned to the other PeopleSoft apps, so I spend a lot of time still doing a lot of that user experience design, working a lot with Campus Solutions, working a lot with Fluid, of course. A lot of my projects are with Fluid. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Corey. And we have a special guest star from Oracle, Mr. Steve. Welcome.
Yes, Steve Brawn. I'm Director of Product Strategy for Oracle Higher Ed Development, responsible for Campus Solutions and Student Club.
And then for the meet and the great, our panelists, thank you all so much for joining. We're going to go into detailed panelist introductions as we go through a quick profile for each. So we'll start off with Todd.
Good morning. My name is Todd Glick. I'm a manager of enterprise applications at Bowling Green State University. So I manage the PeopleSoft pillars at BGSU. We first implemented the HCM application in 2005. We went into the FMS application and then into our student application, implementing in 2008. Since then, in 2020, we implemented our Fluid student self-service functionality. And then after that, we implemented, about a year later, our Fluid delegate access. And we just upgraded and did our Get Current. So we're on Plum 23 and PeopleTools 8.5.9.
Thanks, Todd. Can you guys hear us in the back? Is it a little hard? Okay, so we'll pass around the mics a little bit. We've only got one for the table. All right, Mr. Ryan.
My name is Brian Bergeron. I work at the College of the Holy Cross, the Application Development Director there. We implemented PeopleSoft back in 2001, and we turned on Fluid in 2020. We started off a little slow there, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. We're trying to change our mindset as developers there. We're trying to, instead of just when people ask for requests or changes, we're not just diving in and to make a customization. We're trying to actually do configuration versus customizations. So,
That's right. Dustin?
Hello, my name is Dustin Gerstenfield, and I'm at Mass Bay Community College on the west side of Boston. My campus implemented PeopleSoft back in 2003. We've done a lot of innovations here in the last few years, some of it forced by COVID and that experience, so kind of appreciated, but it made us a little nervous at the same time. We implemented fluid navigation for all of our users last summer. And this year we've been working on implementing a CRM for our admissions staff, including an admissions application. And we collaborated and designed a COVID collection form and data process this winter, which I'll tell you more about that because we're presenting on it on Wednesday.
Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan McHugh. I'm the Director of Student Technology Operations at the Office of the President. We work at the Office of the President on Boston, Dartmouth, and Lowell Campus Solutions, and we also host the PeopleSoft Campus Solutions for the medical school. We are looking to use Fluid, kind of like my brethren over here. We are a little slow on the Fluid uptake. However, in the HR and Fin space, we are using Fluid implementation. I will say, being part of this panel, I have learned a lot of go forward. So I am new to the UMass system, so I'm definitely learning things that we all could benefit from. So enjoy the presentation.
That you're a key part of. All right, so moving into the first topic, improving the user experience. And really, we want to start this off by level setting around, you guys, how many folks here use Fluid? Okay, how many folks don't know what Fluid is? Okay, great. So pain points that we hear a lot, and folks that are still, or institutions that are moving through that whole change transformation inside of their institutions to go to that more mobile responsive, easier, more simplified user experience for folks. You know, our students, they want to work on their mobile devices. We need more accessibility options. As you are all most likely aware, Fluid checks many of those boxes. So getting away from that old design paradigm where the Student Center, I'm sure folks that have worked in Campus Solutions know the Student Center, back in 2000-ish, I think, when that started rolling out in 8.0, the design concepts were throw as much information on the page as possible. So you have this thing that we expected our students to be able to navigate through our systems, where some of their most important action items were all the way on the far right down. They had to scroll down for it to get to to-dos or service indicators or some of the things that we should have been putting right up in their face. So Fluid for us has really been this evolution that came out several years ago, where we're bringing Campus Solutions into the new century, and we're giving an experience that's modern and quite a bit more robust than what we had in the past. So to our panelists, many of y'all have adopted Fluid, so talk to us about your journey. How was Fluid rolled out at your institution? How did you engage your users? How was it received? And then what's coming next? And we'll start with Todd.
All right, Fluid at Bowling Green State University. So we started off in our HCM environment, and we replaced we had deep links in our portal. So we had deep links straight to components. So in HCM, it seemed like the Fluid functionality was first introduced. So we started replacing the View My Paycheck and the direct deposit setup. So that got us into Fluid and starting to use that. After that, we started a project then with implementing and replacing our student service center and replacing all of the student Fluid functionality. So within that, then we got into the Fluid navigation, the tiles, the smart tiles, navigation collections, and let's see. So, okay, I got lost.
about? Where are you guys thinking? What's next on your docket? Because that was a pretty big endeavor and a big release that
Yeah.
we did.
So I think we still have functionality we want to still roll out within that. So some of the functionality was Classic Plus, and so replacing some of that with some fluid functionality, as well as the student registration functionality. I think we're still using the Classic functionality there, so we need to replace the student registration functionality.
That's great. And Corey, I think you even had a comment at one point. A lot of work was done on the staff side.
Yeah. So, a lot of folks, of course, and it makes sense to start off with student self-service, faculty advisor self-service, but a huge value add that we've seen with Fluid and navigation collections is building out staff tiles and administrative tiles that are focused on business processes, which make it, a lot of the times even more efficient than using breadcrumbs or main menu, because there's still so many clicks, and a lot of staff who we talk to have really, really long lists of favorites. Was that the case at Bowling Green? Did you notice that a lot of folks had like crazy usage, out of favorites, but then it's a really long list and it's not really guiding any particular process together. So navigation collections, super easy to configure. A lot of time is spent usually just designing the navigations, figuring out what makes sense to have as a part of a given tile, but staff, once you get them rolling and using fluid navigation, they like it a lot more, especially over the navigator too, which, is a part of the fluid navigation. So
Yeah, so specifically, it's not just about the students, because I know there are third-party products out there that some institutions use for that student mobile experience. We have another project starting up really soon, the next 2 weeks, where the focus is actually on the faculty, advisors, and staff side of the house, because they use one of those products for the student experience. But so it is definitely an evolution, not just for students, but for everyone, helping them be more efficient in the applications. It's pretty powerful from the whole perspective. Brian, do you want to talk to us about what Holy Cross has been up to?
Sure. Before we started Fluid, we actually we did a survey, and we brought a couple of laptops where the students travel the most, the coffee shop, the post office. So we found a good location where we knew all the students would be, and a lot of faculty went through that same area. So what we did is we built a couple tiles we thought that the students and the faculty and admissions back office people would like, just to give them a little taste of what Fluid looked like. And we also did a survey at the same time, so we asked the students what are their top 3 pages that they would like to have as Fluid. And one was enrollment, one was their grades, and one was their classes. So when we did turn on Fluid for the first time, we built just a tile with the classic student center page, but then we put on the Fluid grades page and view my classes. And that actually got a good review. For the back office people, we went into their favorites, found out what pages they use most frequently, and threw those on tiles using nav collections, one for each department. And those have been such a big hit. We have maybe over 20 tiles now for each department. And what's nice is you're already using the existing security for those pages, so you can throw on as many pages you want into those nav collections and throw that into a tile, and the security controls who sees what still. But we've been doing, baby steps. Then COVID came after we started, so we were trying to bring out at least something new each quarter to the departments. But we've also been working with activity guides, work centers, and trying to use as much configuration things like page field configurator, event mapping, and stuff like that. So it's been slow, but it's been progressing.
Steve, did you have something?
Brian, a couple follow-up questions. So I know you guys use both page and field configurator and event mapping, and we talked to a lot of customers that see some overlap there, try to use one or the other. You guys use both. Can you talk a little bit about how you choose to use one tool versus another tool?
With the page field configurator, we're really only used it for labels right now, where the event mapping just does a little bit more. So we write the code, application packages, and then that does a lot more work for us. So you can do a little bit. We start with the page configurator, and then we move on to the event mapping.
That's a great strategy. It's a great strategy. And as far as activity guides, I know you had told me previously you're not using Activity Guide Composer. Is there anyone in the room that's using Activity Guide Composer or aware of it? So I want to note, activity guides have been around for a little while, and the barrier to entry was pretty difficult. It took a number of personas to really put an activity guide together, including a security analyst, a developer, a functional person. So what we've released about a year ago now is a utility called the Activity Guide Composer. And what it does is it actually utilizes an activity guide in itself to walk you through the creation of all of the steps and all of the rules that are necessary based on rule-based security, et cetera. And if you don't have the proper security to do a step, it'll alert you to that. Really good tool, and we've had a lot of customers utilizing that tool to bring up activity guides in as short as 15, 20 minutes using the activity guide composer.
And we've made a few comments. Does everybody know what a navigation collection is? I see lots of heads nodding. So for those that may not know, it's basically, I mean, it takes us a minute to build a collection in the application, which we could tie to a tile, literally from the tech team, or a functional team even, theoretically. You can have something rolled out in 5 minutes where it could be business process centric. So you could have a business process built out in 5 minutes for your users in a specific area to tick through something that they might only do once or twice a year, maybe it's once a term. How easy it is when there's collaboration between the business areas saying, hey, my business process contains these 5 to 10 items. The IT team putting it together, rolling it out, and bam, you have a business process. Kind of, sort of, but way easier than like work centers, which for those of you who have used work centers in the past, it's much, much faster with these tools. So that's a really good one.
Yeah, I would say too that they could be cross-module. I've seen that a lot too. Like if there's a lot of crossover pages, like I think of Setup Sacker, where a lot of functional modules are always like in those pages underneath Setup Sacker. Add update a person might be one of them. So again, you know, like what was mentioned earlier, it can all share the security that's already in the application. So even if a tile is shared and it has all of these different pages, it'll still respect the security that's set up so nobody sees a page that they're not supposed to see, but they can all theoretically share the same tile. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Thanks, Corey. Dustin, do you want to talk to us about what Mass Bay has been up to around Fluid?
Sure. Well, and I'm going to tie something into what Corey just said, because I actually did just that. I created the tile that lives. So our homepage for staff, there's a tile for every module, which for us is Office. But within each tile, I have a process-driven tile for each of those. But to Corey's point, I created one that's called Student Basic Info. And so it takes pages from across the system. So add, update a person, checklists, you know, all the 3 C's, a quick financial aid page, of a student accounts page, and put that in one tile. So, you know, it uses the user security to manage, you know, if they have access or not. But if you have a lot of the access to the pages, then you can see everything all in one spot. And our users really like that because it's truly a one-stop shop for them. On our campus, a lot of people use the Student Center and Student Services Center page to gather a lot of that information, and a lot of people still do, but we have a little more users that are moving towards the Student Basic Info tile to gather some of those data points, because they can also take action on those specific pages too. So talking about Fluid at Mass Bay, kind of counter to what my colleague at Holy Cross did in a kind of more gradual rollout, I just turned it on right away. I built out some basic, what I thought the users would need from a student perspective, faculty, staff, advisor perspective, and I took those to those constituent groups, worked with each office, created business process navigation collections for several of our offices, and admissions loves it. It makes it real easy for them because it's legit, just step by step by step. and I worked with our SGA, took the student perspective, got their feedback, rolled it all together, put a nice bow on it, and just flipped the switch the next day. For us, that was really helpful, and we had a really good experience with it. A lot of our users love Fluid because it's easier to look to find things, especially with the business process driven nav collections. That's helped them, and our students love it because the visualization is a lot better. We still have some work to do. I want to roll out the student enrollment version of Fluid. That's kind of our phase 2, which I hope to do maybe this summer. And we're going to turn on the biographical. We're having some conversations about preferred name, collecting information about pronouns and gender identity. So we're looking at using those delivered Fluid pages within the biodemo information to have students allow them to report those data points to us so we can use those on campus.
So Dustin just mentioned the Fluid Bio demo pages and student self-service. How many of you are using them, the newer ones, in the configuration? Okay, so we're all aware of those. Excellent. And so to follow up a little bit, I know Dustin is the only one of the 4 institutions up here that is looking at using Fluid Class Search and Enrollment in the short term. How many of you in the room are using Fluid Class Search and Enrollment for your students to enroll in classes? Okay, so I bring it up. It's been around for a little while. It's really a much better user experience for students to enroll in classes, better searching capabilities, better activity guide capabilities to walk them through the enrollment process. But one of the major barrier of entries that we've found, a reason a lot of customers have not yet adopted it, is that it requires data to be sent to Elasticsearch servers using full indexing and incremental indexing. And so there's some period of time where the data is a little bit stale, even if you're running the incremental indexes every 10 minutes or so. We are actually, exciting announcement, you're the first to hear it, in PUM 26, we are introducing, we've been working collaboratively with the People Tools team to work on real-time indexing with Fluid Class Search and Enrollment as one of the primary use cases. And we will be introducing real-time indexing in PUM 26 to replace the need for incremental indexing. So you'll have real-time data back and forth with the Elasticsearch servers, and we hope that that will push customers to adopt Fluid Class Search more.
And that's a big deal. So for those of you that use it, there's a lot of coordination that needs to go, especially when we decentralize class management. As classes are getting updated, making sure that we were running before the incrementals to make sure that the scheduled classes were showing the differences that the staff was inputting. So that's a really big change, and it's going to help out the process quite a bit. So yes.
Will it have the same system requirements, server setups, et cetera?
It will. You'll have to be on tools 858. Yep.
Great. Good. So we've heard, any other questions on this one? I know class search is probably one of the biggest change areas when it comes to rolling out Fluid for your students. Any other questions in those areas? All right. So let's flow into then the innovation and optimization. And we've already heard some of these items come out around activity guides, nav collections, how we use them, how we use now this foundation that we've rolled out in the system. And maybe one more question back to the panelists. So have you all found that deploying at least your baseline Fluid has made it faster for your departments and your areas to react to requirements and to layer in change to effectively make things better and better?
I would say yes, because taking the admissions example I kind of alluded to earlier, with bringing in the new CRM into that process, having their pages that they use to process an admissions application, we're able to go we've been able to improve our processing time to be same day, whereas we were multiple days to process an admissions application just because of the application tool and people navigating the pages. So we've really lucked out that kind of everything, it wasn't intentional, it just kind of happened, that everything kind of fell online at the same time. And we've seen some great benefits in the admissions office.
So it's organic. So those that haven't gone Fluid, if you all have any questions, please let us know, because honestly, even to Brian's perspective, it could be phased You don't have to go big bang. Fluid Classic works wonderful together. Granted, you have to worry about the experience if somebody's on mobile or tablet, but you can phase. So it does not need to be a massive change management approach when you go there. But once you start and once you get that foundation in, you'll just keep being able to roll things out. So it's good stuff. Okay, so flowing into innovation and optimization, let's start the first question with Susan. Can you tell us how the UMass system is working to address new user requirements, coping with current technical debt, and working towards optimizing your use of campus solutions?
Sure. I do think at the University of Massachusetts we do need to really take a honest look at our system, and we have a lot of customizations in our system. And to Dustin's point, the onset of having a CRM shows that we need to deliver things in more real time, and that is one of the bigger struggles at UMass. We have so much customization that we really need to step back and start looking at things in a long-term fashion. We're going to need to go to a SaaS model at some point, and we can't keep continuing to customize a software where we need to make other delivery choices. So one of the things we're doing is leveraging actual products that are delivered, such as activity guides. We've attended one of these types of sessions. We're putting out activity guides for the first time. So, we're really behind, but we're definitely taking advantage of what we own at this point and making different decisions.
Which is common. How do you know what you don't know?
Yes,
right? And that's
absolutely.
that chicken and the egg kind of thing. So we're hoping, and that's one of the best things with conferences like this is when you're just in those hallway conversations and somebody mentions activity guides, you're like, I've heard about that. How have you used them? And we get all the details, and it's like, wow, I could do something really close to that. So that's powerful. Thanks, Susan. Let's see, Brian, you want to talk to us about what y'all have been doing?
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but we've had a lot of turnover in our place. So the nav collections and the tiles, I could keep talking about it because as the departments are getting more and more turnover and the people coming in, navigation can be a little difficult trying to train people. So by creating the nav collections and the tiles, as new people come in, you just give them the tile and you can put it right in this, step by step what page they need to go to create a student or what have you. So that's been beneficial for us, big time.
So how has Holy Cross tried to know what you don't know?
Well, that's a good question because we work a lot with Sierra-Cedar, and a lot of our departments have been coming into us and saying, are we using the system to the best of our abilities? That's one question. The other is, what's available out there for us to use? I don't know about you, but a lot of people, they just come to IT and they ask, what is there? And we don't always know. We explain to them, well, you have to read, the PUM information or use the YouTube videos. There's a number of ways to finding out what else is out there. But like I say, we work with Sierra-Cedar a lot, so we have people come in that actually sit down and work with them and show them what there is available into the system.
And that's specifically around strategic projects. We've been hearing a lot about that, especially around now that the students are coming back in, and it's more about the optimization. Those areas of opportunity where you have a specific use case or business requirement is a really good time to learn the new stuff. And we've been using that pretty heavily. I know Holy Cross they absorb it, which has been fantastic, and it really opens the doors. Let's see, Todd, do you have any comments?
Sure. So we've been looking to try to remove technical debt, and part of that is as we have new PUMs come in or people tools upgrades, reevaluating those customizations, looking at the page field configurator, event maintenance or event mapping, to try to remove those customizations to a place where they're more manageable as we have the upgrades. We're also looking at the forms and approvals, try to reduce the use of paper forms and automation of the approvals, so we know where those approvals stand.
Excellent. And we've used event mapping a few times now. Does everybody know what event mapping is, or anybody not know? It's a way for us from the technology side to hook into delivered areas in the system to inject basically custom code. So we've used it in areas, for instance, we typically get requirements that every start of a term, we want a student to step through and validate their address, their phone number, et cetera, the contact details. So we can use event mapping that as soon as the system logs into Campus Solutions, the first time of the term until they complete an activity guide, that's one of them is delivered, we can pop it up automatically when they come in. And that's with event mapping, zero customization, all configuration, plus delivered functionality. So it's one of those, it's probably one of the most powerful items we've had in years when it comes to how we can do things in the system. Still needs a little bit of technical support, but it's configuration versus customization. Steve?
Is anybody in the room using drop zones in any of your PeopleSoft products?
So the question was, is anybody using drop zones?
So drop zones is a PeopleTools capability that allows institutions, if we, Oracle, enable a drop zone on a UI, it allows you to go into that drop zone on that UI and add custom people code in metadata real-time manner so that you're not actually customizing the code line. And that helps you to take your maintenance more regularly. You don't have to do retrofitting because it all just persists the upgrades. In Campus Solutions, we have been slow to adopt drop zones, whereas the other PeopleSoft products have adopted them on many of their UIs for a couple of years now. I want to note, as of PUM 24, we now have been starting a slow adoption phase of drop zones in PeopleSoft Campus Solutions, starting with the bio demo student self-service fluid pages. And we're interested in getting feedback from all of our customers on next places to enable drop zones. Is anybody aware of the Idea Lab space that Oracle has? Okay, so about 6 months ago, Oracle moved from using enhancement requests through MOS to a space called Idea Labs. And this follows the pattern of the rest of our applications, both our on-premise and our SaaS applications at Oracle, where we now directly interact with our customers, you all, through this Idea Labs space between the development teams, us at Oracle on development, not the support teams, but development, with you, the customer, and the customers interact with each other. So if you put an idea out there, which would have been called an enhancement in previous days, you'll put an idea out there, other customers can go in, they can upvote your idea, they can add their own flavor to the idea, and we pay very close attention to that in development, and we have been modifying, as of the last 6 months, we've been really modifying our roadmap based on the upvotes and the customer feedback. So we're taking it very seriously, and we are asking for ideas not just for where to enable drop zones, but for other capabilities and functionality. So we know the best places to adjust our roadmap for our customers and have more interaction with you all and allow you guys to have more interaction with each other.
Excellent. And since the mic is down there, Dustin, what sort of innovations have you been up to?
So we did a really cool innovation here the last couple of months. And so in this semester, spring semester was the first semester we actually returned fully back to campus 100%. And so we had a requirement from our campus president to collect vaccination documents and whatnot in preparation for students, faculty, staff to return to campus. And so we had learned about an innovation from one of our Oracle reps who came and did a talk about forms and approvals process. And so that's how we initially learned about the tool. And we're like, okay, we're going to tuck that away for later, take some paper processes and turn them into forms in our instance. And when this requirement came around, we remembered that idea, and so we took that concept, worked with SCI. My friend Cindy is here today. She helped us build it, and we built a form for all of our constituents to report their COVID information within PeopleSoft, submit a copy of their vaccination information, and then that go to different approvers. If you're a faculty or staff, it goes to HR. If you're a student, it goes to someone within student development. And we were able to come up with that process pretty quick and deploy that to allow all of our constituents to report their information, allow us to act on it as administrators, and work with our students or with faculty and staff to do so, using event mapping and bringing in the information that we know about the student from the SIS, put it on the form, have them fill out the missing pieces, and then submit it. And it was a really great process and cleaner than what we would have had to deal with if we involved a third-party application to collect that information. So that was really fun. We're actually doing a presentation on it on Wednesday, session 8862, Wednesday afternoon at 2:15. So come check us out. You can learn more about it. Come see a demo.
Yes, and you should. So I'm not sure how many of y'all are still using like paper for late add requests, late drop, change of major,
We love paper.
grade change.
Applying for grade.
So, I mean, honestly, forms and approval have come so far over the past few years. It is such a great framework where once you build your first form, your team could start rolling that stuff out. It's using event mapping. We've commented on it multiple times. Gives us a ton of flexibility. We can pre-populate fields on the form for the student. They can come in, select one of their classes that they want to drop because our registration time is closed. We could use event mapping to populate fields behind the scenes on the page so that as an administrator then goes to do the approval, or the advisor, or whoever it's going through on workflow, they could see additional information without having to go anywhere else. It is so powerful. And then at the end of that, once they click approve, it could actually do the enrollment request, or it can do the change of major on the program plan stack. I mean, they can get more complex, like change of major is kind of a complex one, but late add, late drop, those are some low-hanging fruits when it comes to forms. Grade changes, I-grade, incompletes, last date of attendance, like all of those kind of things, we can get away from paper using forms and approval. So super powerful. If you're not using it, would highly suggest it. If you have more questions, go to the Wednesday session or come talk to us. We can give you lots of details on it because it's really good stuff. All right, let's flow into final topic. We're doing good on time, and then we can open up for so many more questions. Innovation from the infrastructure layer. So we've talked about what can we do for the front end for our users, what can we do for the layer of helping them be more efficient in the application, helping them find and do the things that they need to do. So now let's talk about our infrastructure. So now we're talking data center. We're talking how are we managing it? What are some areas of opportunity there? When we talk about PeopleSoft in the cloud, some folks think Fusion, so they're thinking student management cloud. It's not. It's not Fusion. It's literally taking your PeopleSoft environment and putting it up into cloud infrastructure. Could be OCI, so Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, could be AWS, et cetera. There are several ways to get there, but it's the idea of not having to worry about every 3 years buying new servers. It's not having to buy new servers for your couple of high peak enrollment periods and then they just sit idle for the rest of the year. It's about optimizing. It's about disaster recovery. You could have your disaster recovery not be in the same town, maybe on the other side of town, and another data center could be on the other side of the country. It's your high availability. So if you're and this has happened. So actually, your campus network goes down, but with COVID, during COVID, things are more folks are off campus. They might not even know that your network went down, which would have impacted all of your servers that are on-prem because it's all in the cloud. So there are so many opportunities here. So we're going to do some deep dives into the two layers, specifically around the infrastructure and around the management of the infrastructure, because we have two different flavors, which we hope y'all will find beneficial. So to start that off, let's start the first question with Susan. No. Let's start. The first question. Brian, talk to us about, I have to flip my page.
Okay.
What y'all did at the College of Holy Cross. What led you to make the decisions that you did? What value did you see? And did you have any lessons learned that you'd like to share?
Yeah, we like what Chris was referring to is like with the servers. That's one thing we don't have to budget for. I mean, we have to budget because we did move all 3 of our pillars into AWS in October. We started in February. One of the lessons learned would be give yourself a little bit more time. We ended up one of the areas we really needed to focus on more was the interfaces, because now you're in the cloud, you're off-prem. There was a lot of work there to be had, but we did that. But what we found too is by going into the cloud, I was working from home one day and the network went down on the campus, and I'm just working fine from home and everything is fine, and I get these tickets. Can't get to the servers and stuff, and I'm like, no, I can get to them just fine, I'm from home. So, and we, again, with turnover, we lost some key players over the last year and a half, both functional and technical. So by us moving to the cloud, we partnered with Sierra-Cedar, so when we needed technical or functional help, we were able to reach out to our extended IT family, and we were able to get the resources pretty quickly and to help us to continue to move forward. Like I say, one of the lessons learned really was just to give yourself enough time to do it. And sometimes I thought, maybe moving 3 pillars at the same time was too much, but I think it was the right move, because when we were doing the interface, because we had interfaces in between the 3 pillars, so we did it once and it was done. So yeah, it was tough, but I'd still do it all 3 at the same time.
Yeah, and so Holy Cross took the full side of the spectrum, and they went full non-production, production,
Everything.
all at the same time. So it was definitely a big, but from the benefits of that, again, all of their development environments, so they don't need to worry about installing SQL Developer or keeping their people tools patched anymore or any of that kind of item, because it's all fully managed. So they took advantage of the side of the house where it's the full 24/7 management side too.
Yeah, and the software too that we use is, so there's like one virtual machine that we have, Toad's on it, Tools is on it, everything's on it. So you get a new laptop delivered to you, you only have to install one software and all the other packages are in there. So that's been benefit. And then also, when we went from 8.5.6 to 8.5.8, we didn't need to have anybody else learn, because there was a difference going from 8.5.6 tools to 8.5.8 for the implementation. So the person that would have done that left the college. We don't have to worry about that any longer. So we have the expertise right there with us.
That's great. And now from Susan's perspective, so Susan and her group, Susan's part of, or actually, why don't you tell your story around your system services and how UMass.
Oh, well, UMass is currently leveraging the Sierra-Cedar PS admins. So now we have 24/7 support, and they're helping us with the, we're going through the PUMs right now, so they're doing all the PS admin supports, moving us from the lower level environments through our PUMs upgrades to production. So that's been really advantageous. We get up in the morning and now all the work's been done, and we're not using that, 8 to 5 and waiting for things to happen. So that's been really cool. I also have managed one of the states in New England with their cloud infrastructure, and it really does take the weight off an IT team, and they really get to do the work of the college instead of worrying about all those things that are like one-offs or those low-level upgrades and trying to just get through the support. There's a lot of turnover in IT now, a lot of people retiring, a lot of retirements at UMass, and you're really just not worrying about the hires and fires. You got the 24/7 support. It just really changes the paradigm when you have cloud support. And it's kind of a necessary next step for universities at this point. And knowing I supported one of those New England states for 3 years, and it really did change the life of those employees who were on site. They got to focus on the good works that they needed to do. So it's a wonderful benefit.
And it's also a good little transition thinking the first natural cloud, because finance and HCM have been, they're all mature now. So typically we're seeing roadmaps of institutions going with either finance HCM, stagger approach, or big bang for those two. But then the question comes down, well, what do we do now at Campus Solutions, which is the last PeopleSoft environment sitting in base. We have retirements coming up, and this is where the whole concept of that, how can we start to innovate and optimize from our infrastructure? And that's the lift it to the cloud and keep it for a few, many, etc. years.
Great first step.
Yes. So does anybody have any questions? Is there anything you'd like to do some deep dives on? We have a lot of brain trust up here. Steve?
I'll just ask a question of the group. So going back to our first topic, which was user experience, how many of you are or have investigated using the Oracle Digital Assistant to create a chatbot digital assistant at your institutions? Has anyone other than, no? Okay, so I want to note that there, again, I know I use the phrase barrier to entry a lot, but there was a barrier to entry with ODA. So about 2 years ago, we released native connections with Oracle Digital Assistant, which is a Oracle technology that is a PaaS application, and we natively integrate that with Campus Solutions to allow you to use Campus Solutions as the source for the bot, as well as a channel for the bot, as well as a source for the data. And so that's native. Those integrations have been out for about 2 years. We have not released a bot yet. However, in the next PUM image, PUM 25, we're releasing a student assistant bot that will do has three skills built into it. It will allow students to get their grades, interact with the bot to get their grades, both current and historic. It will allow the student to view their class schedule through the bot, as well as directly link to the fluid self-service class schedule that's new as of 2 PUM images ago. And finally, it will allow the student to search for and enroll in classes and go through and take a look there. And so 3 skills, really offering it up in PUM 25 as a template to institutions to get their hands dirty a little bit, knowing that you're likely to want to extend it. And we realize, absolutely. And we realize that that institutions have use cases for digital assistants far beyond utilizing data out of Campus Solutions, things like minimizing hits to your help desk for simple questions, and the Oracle Digital Assistant platform supports all of that. So you can create one digital assistant, and you can set it to multiple channels. So Campus Solutions self-service can be a channel, Alexa can be a channel, your institution websites can be a channel. It's really open, really great platform technology, one of the best digital assistant platform technologies out there in the market, completely integrated with Campus Solutions to allow you to really revamp some of your student experience with a digital assistant. Another framework that I want to highlight around student experience is Kibana Analytics. Is anybody utilizing Kibana Analytics? So Kibana Analytics is enabled by the People Tools team. It's also a platform as a service application that works with Elasticsearch. And what it allows you to do is create using relatively simple functional configuration. You can create analytics, and it's really centered on creating high performance analytics for big data. It allows you to action that data, drill into that data, create trend reporting, historic reporting, predictions, and it's all utilizing really functional based setup in that Elasticsearch capability. Pretty simple to set up analytics. You can create them as individual analytics, put them on UIs, or you can create entire analytics dashboards to embed within Campus Solutions for either your students or your admins. We do see a lot more admin use cases, especially around the predictions and the trend reporting, historic, et cetera. Really powerful tool. Again, completely open native framework as of about also 2 years ago. Also, we don't have a PUM image for this yet. We're targeting potentially 26 or 27. We're going to also offer some Kibana templates, again, to hopefully ease that barrier of entry to give you some examples, knowing fully well that you'll use them as examples and likely want to extend for yourself.
That's excellent. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions? Yes. It's built in.
With those forms, is there a way that when the student, what I'm thinking of is like applying for graduation, when they fill out a form to apply for graduation, can the form put back into the student finance side to trigger like an equation variable to kick the credit fees on?
It could almost do anything because of event mapping. So yes, it's very powerful. If you could think of the rules on when to do it and what to do, it could do it.
And if you come to Wednesday session, plug, we can actually kind of talk to or give you an example of that, because we did something similar where we took the data about their vaccination information and had it populate into a page using component interfaces in event mapping. So we can show you an example of what it can do.
Makes sense. What time is that session again?
2:15 on Wednesday, room 615, 617 in the other building.
Yes.
It'd be great hearing about the innovation that you're all working on. What's the ratio of sort of functional and business expertise who are now working with these powerful tools to developers in your organisations? Are we starting to see developers becoming obsolete to a degree within your institutions, or are you very configuration heavy, or are you still very development heavy in terms of skill sets that you're looking for? So it'd be interesting to hear. I'm from the UK, it's very clear that the staff moving away in terms of IT is clearly a global issue, as we're seeing it as well. So just interested whether using harnessing powerful tools such as the ones we've been discussing is that move that you're making, staying away from customization and coding.
So for the University of Massachusetts, and we support 3 campuses in the centralized IT, we have 13 analysts and 4 developers supporting 3 campuses.
That tells a story. Thank you.
Yes, it does. But we do have a lot of, and we're in one instance, so that makes it truly more complicated. A lot of even third parties that interact with us have trouble supporting us and have to build custom things to support us as well. I don't know if the UK probably doesn't deal with like the National Student Clearinghouse, but they can't even set up the integration point to have students log in and have integration points between our campus. They're working on that now, but so the complication adds to our volume.
How about for the others? Have you noticed any transitioning of roles and responsibilities, maybe to or from IT staff to like analysts, for instance?
I would say yes for my campus, because we're actually losing our last developer next Friday. We had 2 developers, losing them due to retirements. So myself, I'm a business analyst. My colleague is a systems analyst. So we're going to take on a lot of the work. And I think Oracle has moved in a fashion to have it be more configuration driven. But there is going to be some people code, some development kind of tools that the 2 of us aren't going to be able to do. So we're going to have to rely on help from others to kind of get some of those pieces done. But we're trying to stay as vanilla as possible, and by doing so, that's really helping us and keeping us more in the configuration realm. But I think in some of those cases, we're like the case of event mapping and doing some of those things that we need to do to make a good user experience, we will have to have some development help.
Yeah, for us, we have 1 business analyst, 3 developers, and I'm the manager, but I'm also a developer as well. we're trying to bring in more business analysts into the different functional areas, because the developers are also our BAs too. So to let them just do development, we need a person in between. So the college is looking at bringing in these business analysts to different areas. And also, I think that'll help us to understand actually what is available in the system. Because today, our end users, they're not taking that next step to dig. They have their own business, their own jobs to do, not just work in the system. So we need people to understand the system and then to share that with the businesses and then start using best practices that's in the system today. For us, our developers retired, and then they weren't replacing them, but the work kept coming in. But we did. There was different management that's been coming in that have a different mindset. That let's look at the best business practices. Let's not just because we made a change to shopping cart to backpack. Because there was that mindset that we don't like it, let's change it no matter what the cost is for upgrades and so forth. Different management, different mindset. Now they're like, let's use the system the way it's delivered, and now let's get away from some of those other customizations, and let's look at the system, truly look at the system.